lionized mindset. It is said that performance and performance alone dictates the predator in any food chain. Therefore, a lionized mindset strives to be self-initiated, dynamic, cool under pressure, as well as stylish and debonair. So welcome to the first video detailing the first law in a series of 7, lacing you up on what establishes the foundation on attaining a lionized mindset. Checkmate. Welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Gameology. I'm your host, Neil K. Marcellus. As some of you already are familiar with, the way I present the topic of game is from a mind over circumstances type of approach versus anything else. As for the topic, which is the subject of this particular episode, which is the 7 laws of lionizing your mindset, there needs to be some points of clarity as to what I'm signifying when I refer to these points as laws. Simply put, we interact with 2 forms of laws. Basically, man-made laws and natural laws. Man-made laws is don't run stop signs, pay your taxes, etc. But natural law has 2 subcomponents. One subcomponent is physical laws, which is example, gravity. And the other subcomponent is mental laws. What is mental laws? What gives mental laws their legitimacy? Mental laws is self-evident truths that speaks to the physical makeup and the psychological makeup of the individual or the human body, so to speak. With that being said, let me move on to describing the formula of a lionizing mindset. In every outcome that you are dealing with, regardless of what it is, there's 3 factors that's going to be present within this outcome. 1 constant and 2 variables. The first factor, which is a constant, is the individual, which is you. The second factor, which is a variable, is the ability to improve. What improvement system or strategy you're utilizing or did not utilize. And number 3 is the other variables, is the situation or the components, the particulars that make up that situation. So every outcome that you are contending with is going to have these 3 factors within it. This makes up the formula, which is a lionizing mindset, which gives you the ability to have a lionized mindset, which is a lionized mindset has nothing to do with no new age mumbo jumbo. The concept is based upon understanding your physical makeup and your psychological makeup. Taking the time to understand of how your body is responding to certain factors gives you the ability to step back and view your feelings and emotions from a scientific and a logical lens. Therefore, a lionized mindset depends on your ability to manage certain biological and psychological factors. Biological, the ability to manage these factors points to your ability to manage your stress factor. The stress factor is what occurs when you engage into any outcome. On another episode, I spoke about the ability of your nervous system when it's under stress that produces cortisol. Countering cortisol or countering this stress factor is the factors that brings your stress levels back into poise, so to speak. And this is referred to as your anabolic state. This ability to understand this biological reality I just pointed to gives you the ability to have mental laws that describes and gives definition on how the occurrences takes place. And understanding this represents a self-evident truth. This gives you the ability to understand things very quickly. This is the concept of understanding or utilizing mental laws. And when you understand the lionizing aspects of the formula, which has those three factors involved in it, which is the individual, which is the improvements scenario, which is presented within that situation, and the particulars of that situation, then you understand how this biological aspect plays itself out. Understanding how this biological give and take transpires within your physical makeup gives you the ability, or gives one the ability, to be a top-notch athlete. For example, viewing this in the context of being a successful boxer, counterfighting is the ability for a boxer to successfully defend and return a strike successfully on their opponent. So a trainer will utilize a drill which referred to as an ABC drill. It's a sparring drill where they will have a sparring partner throw a punch, let's say a jab, and the boxer under training will slip that jab, which is a form of defense. And then the C portion of that drill, the A deals with the sparring partner throwing the punch. The B deals with the defense of the boxer under training. And then the C portion of their drill deals with the boxer under training returning a successful counter strike or strikes. This right here, this concept of ABC training drill introduces the trainee to that stress factor and ability to recognize it, to manage it. This produces a top-notch athlete. Consequently, which is a no-brainer, this means that a lionized mindset hinges upon training the mind to navigate this stress factor and the ability to bring things back in poise. And this falls into the category of understanding how those three factors dealing with the formula of lionizing your mindset comes into play. So a lionized mindset is brought about by two factors. First is the interplay between the stress factor and the factors that is a counterbalance that brings things back into poise. And number two, which is the ability of your self-image to govern the speedy recovery of dealing with this stress factor. Your self-image is a component that operates under your ego. In this status quo society, ego development is shunned upon. In order for you to develop your ego, you are looked upon as being egotistical. Wherein, when it comes to the concept of gameology, the ego is a must. You must develop your ego. One of the key components in developing this ego is your self-image. Your self-image is the psychological aspect of your mental laws. It's what governs, or it's what constitutes the psychological aspect of bringing this stress factor back into poise. And also, when it comes to understanding the formula of a lionized mindset, it falls into the first constant, or the only constant, which is you. The stronger your self-image is constructed, it allows you to manage the stress factor that corrodes your mental state. So now you have a thorough understanding of what I mean when I refer to this this way of thinking as mental laws. Now, with the question of what do I mean when I'm referring to these 7 points as mental laws properly answered and put in checkmate, then let me move on to the main topic of this episode, which is the first law out of a series of 7 on lionizing your mindset. But before I dive into explaining this first law, let me introduce to you a major stumbling block that this first law is well equipped in providing you the capabilities on hurdling this obstacle I just mentioned. In helping me do so, I'm going to utilize a clip from a popular TV series by the name of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones had many jewels and points of wisdom that gave you insight on maneuvering this chessboard of life I'm constantly referring to. In this particular clip, this stumbling block that we will address on the opposite end of this clip will be addressed, or the character within this particular clip will point out this stumbling block that I just mentioned. After the clip, we will pick it up from there.
Our queen respects the wisdom of age.
Of course she does. Respect is how the young keep us at a distance, so we don't remind them of an unpleasant truth.
What is that?
Nothing lasts.
This stumbling block I referred to prior to this clip, and that character you just watched, what he was referring to is the concept of change. This first law of lionizing your mindset has to do with holding things down, you being in control. In psychology, they refer to this as your locus of control. Simply, the point of reference when you are in control of your life. Is it internal or external? If it's external, then you are in a position to be maneuvered like a poison pawn. On this channel, I use the game of chess and draw correlations on how one can utilize these concepts and strategy in the game of life. Peep game. In chess, as well being a practitioner of gameology, managing change is a priority, because when change is not properly managed, it can strip away 3 vital and indispensable kinds of resources from your clutches. In chess, these resources is referred to as tempo, space, and tangibles. The tempo speaks about, in chess, moving your pieces in the right position. In life, this speaks about having the proper outlook and the ability to assess certain situations so the momentum is behind you. Space, when it comes to chess, speaks about not being cornered. In life, this speaks to your ability of not having your options removed from you. Because when you have more options, you have more ability, or you have the ability to maneuver. Tangibles, when it comes to the game of chess, speaks to not allowing your opponent to remove your chess pieces off the board. In life, this represents not losing hard assets. This diagram that I'm showing you represents when change takes place, where do you fall emotionally? Your ability to recognize where you fit on this grid gives you the ability to harness your lionizing mindset. Point number 1 on this grid represents a no dice type of emotional response, meaning you're totally in denial. Number 2 represents what we refer to on the street as being out of pocket, basically passive resistance. Number 3, you find some utility in this change. And of course, number 4 is full throttle. You are totally into this particular change and how it can benefit you. In chess, there are 3 phases: opening, middle, and end game. I'm going to show you how to utilize these 3 phases in this grid in order to solidify the first law of lionizing your mindset. in utilizing this first phase of this law, we're going to start in the middle, because the middle represents where do you fit on this particular grid. Once you determine where you fit on this particular grid, then it comes down to managing or getting insight into the opening and the end game. In the opening, basically you need to identify where and when this particular change occurred, and you want details, and you want to understand the activity that brought it about and with whom was involved into this change. Now, once you solidify that information, you need to understand the end game. The end game deals with the consequences, because more times than not, the consequences, the after effect of a sudden change, is a habit that you have exhibited for a long time. When it comes to this sudden change, you need to get a beacon on it, so to speak. This opening, middle, and end game represents an emotional loop. The inability to control this loop disqualifies you to be a practitioner on the chessboard as well as the chessboard in life. Because in chess, you must know how to manage this opening, middle, and end game loop. As well in life, as I'm showing you, this applies to having a lionized mindset. Because this particular strategy is designed so that you can focus on the before and after circumstances and behavior, and figure out what triggers and what catalysts occurred in order for you to recognize them and take better position to defend yourself, need be, when they present themselves in the near future. The philosopher Aristotle said one time, "What it lies in our power to do, it lies in our power not to do." So when it comes to this locus of control, when it comes to understanding that the concept of game is based upon mind over circumstances, and the ability to lionize your mindset so you can maneuver with ease upon the chessboard of life, this comes down to understanding that game is both an art and a science. Checkmate. This concludes the explanation of the first law. Catch you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.